Hello to everybody. My name is Miguel Ángel López Gajardo from the University of Extremadura. Now, in this last part of this project result related to the group dynamics and leadership development in athletes and coaches, I show you the first block related to the group processes. Specifically, I am going to talk about the teamwork and the last point about team building. To show you all findings related to teamwork and team building, I will follow the same conceptual model that my teammates Fran and Juan José Pulido. In the case of Juan José Pulido, he talked about the variable related with the block of group structure. For example, leadership, Alex leadership, group role. Fran, for example, in the second part, talked about the emerging state like group cohesion, team conflicts, and collective efficacy. In this case, as you say before, I focus on group processes, specifically on teamwork, and in a general vision, I will focus on team building. The first point that we need to consider about the role that teamwork play in this team sport context is this question: is teamwork so relevant in team sport? After I will show you a lot of results related to previous manuscript where we can consider the relevant importance of this variable in this sport context, but not only in this previous study. There are a lot of famous players and coaches that focused on this variable to improve the team functioning or the team performance in the team sport. For example, I show you a sentence from one of the best players in the history of Real Madrid Football Club, where Alfredo Di Stefano said that no player is as good as all together. Another example, for example, the Phil Jackson, famous coach, he said that the strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each member is the team. So this previous opinion reflects that the team members need to work well together in order to achieve their desired outcome. Initially, McEwan and Beauchamp conducted a conceptual and interrogative review of research on teamwork in sport and other team settings. They propose teamwork as a team process that has a reciprocal relationship with emerging states, with variables like as team cohesion, group cohesion, collective efficacy, and team resilience. Also, they include a solid definition of teamwork. In addition, related to this model, team processes and emerging state are described as dynamic variables and constitute the mediators that translate input into outcome. Input concern the individual, team, and environment factor that can enable or constrain the interaction between team members. Finally, related to this conceptual model, outcome comprise individual and team consequence. The second part, the second step was validate a measure to know the teamwork in different team sports. So this author validated the multidimensional assessment of teamwork in sport. This instrument has a total of 67 items, include in a 5 general factors. The main important factor related to the competition is teamwork execution, because occurs during the action episode where teams compete against one another. So it's considered the most relevant and proximal predictor of team performance outcome among the 5 teamwork components. These 5 main factors. In this slide, we can see the items related to team execution factor of teamwork variables. Subsequently, to optimize the measurement of teamwork in sport context, these authors validated two brief questionnaires. So if you want to know the teamwork in your teams, you can use the general and previous measurement of teamwork or these two brief questionnaires. To try to show you more finding, in this study, this author conduct a systematic review and meta-analysis of teamwork interventions that were carried out with the purpose of improving teamwork and team performance using controlled experimental design. About the main result, positive and significant medium side effects were found for teamwork interventions of both teamwork and team performance. We continue with this manuscript where the purpose was to test the efficacy of a novel team building intervention that targets teamwork in sport using a 10-week pilot control intervention design. In this study, improvement in teamwork were shown for the experimental teams. Therefore, these results provide evidence that teamwork training can improve the extent to which members of a sport team work effectively together. In this following manuscript that I present to you, the authors examined the relationship between teamwork behaviors with several individual and group variables within sport, such as the group cohesion, collective efficacy, satisfaction with both team and individual performance, enjoyment, and commitment. The main results were a large effect between teamwork and satisfaction with team performance, task cohesion, and collective efficacy, medium effect size between teamwork and social cohesion, and lastly, a small effect between teamwork and individual performance, commitment, and enjoyment. All of these findings provide a great progress in the study of teamwork in sport. However, the reciprocal relationship between teamwork and emergent state wasn't analyzed, and the variables were only measured at a single moment during the season. For this reason, and with the objective of overcoming this limitation, in this study, the following author analyzed the reciprocal relationship between teamwork, execution, emergent state, and perceived team performance. As you can see, they include a total of 3 time points measured during season. In the first point, they measure at the start of the season, in the second at the middle, and lastly, the third measure at the end of the season. Also, they analyze the mediator role of teamwork execution and emergent state during season. In relation to the direct association between teamwork and group cohesion, the result shown a reciprocal relationship between teamwork and task cohesion. Therefore, if we train the communication, the coordination, and cooperation between players, we will improve the task cohesion in training and matches. These longitudinal and reciprocal relationships were also found between teamwork and collective efficacy. If we see the slide, we can see that if we improve the confidence in the capabilities of the team at the start of the season, we will improve the communication, coordination, and cooperation at the middle, and at the end we will improve again the collective efficacy at the end of the season. This is a great important result that the author saw in this study. Furthermore, a positive association between teamwork and perceived team performance was found. However, this association was not reciprocal. Therefore, if we work and improve teamwork during training, especially the coordination, communication, and cooperation between players, we will improve performance in our teams during the season without needing to have a good previous performance. Lastly, according to the indirect effect, Teamwork doesn't act as mediator between collective efficacy, task cohesion, and social cohesion, and persistent performance at the end of the season. However, collective efficacy and task cohesion measured at the middle of the season act as mediator between teamwork and perceived team performance. So, if we develop the communication, coordination, and cooperation at the start of the season, and we will improve the collective efficacy attack cohesion at the middle of the season, we will improve a lot the perceived team performance at the end of the season. Relation to teamwork as mediator, this variable has a direct effect with emergent state and the outcome of perceived team performance, but doesn't act as mediator at the middle of the season. Including all these results, we can conclude that developing teamwork execution appears to lead to greater team unity on the field of play, higher levels of confidence in the team abilities, and in turn, better performance at the end of the season. Teamwork execution can be further improved by promoting task cohesion and collective efficacy, and lastly, the relationship between teamwork, execution, and perceived team performance was unidirectional. The same researchers developed another great work in the study of the teamwork in this team sport context. The purpose of this multi-study was to examine the relationship between variables within an input-mediator outcome framework of team effectiveness in a sport over the course of a competitive season. If we see the slide in the study one, they analyze the reciprocal relationship in two different moments during season between teamwork execution and team resilient. The team resilient variable was composed by two main factors called characteristic of resilience and another negative factor called vulnerability under pressure. As you can see, we can see the negative relationship between teamwork and vulnerability under pressure, and a positive and reciprocal relationship between teamwork and characteristic of resilience. In the study 2, where we include the perceived athlete leadership quality at the start of the season, teamwork and team resilience at the middle, and perceived team performance, we can see the positive association between perceived athlete leadership quality and teamwork and team resilience, and negative relationship between perceived athlete leadership quality and vulnerability under pressure. However, only teamwork execution at the middle of the season show a positive relationship with team perceived performance at the end of the season. In summary, this finding provides evidence of the longitudinal relationship between input, process, emergent state, and outcome. Specifically, it was shown that teamwork execution is reciprocally and longitudinally associated with team resilience. Furthermore, creating high quality athlete leadership at the start of the season could improve teamwork execution and team resilience in the middle of the season. In turn, this finding suggests that teamwork execution may act as a mechanism that translates effective athlete leadership into subtly perception on team performance at the end of the season. To complete a deeper analysis of the teamwork variables, I would like to show you this great work where the author tried to understand why teamwork breakdown, whereby teams do not demonstrate effective teamwork execution. The athlete highlight these 7 reasons. For example, one reason was ineffective team preparation during training and pre-competition warm-up. Another, for example, related to group cohesion, they highlight a poor unit among team members, or, for example, problematic level of confidence between teammates and among the team as a whole. Therefore, this opinion of athlete can give us a clear guidance of on how we have to work to improve teamwork within a sport group during a season. After analyzing the main studies on teamwork, in this slide we show you different scenarios that we can find in a team during a season and that we have to know how to overcome. For example, lack of understanding between the marcation role within the game. There are continual turnover, though the lack of coordination within the field. The third, for example, there are bad ways of talking between players during the game, and another scenarios could be players do not perform some aspect of the game model and each one go their own way. Following the previous study that I have shown you before, and with the objective to try to solve these different adverse scenarios, um, we need to follow these different strategies. For example, we need to explain the team game model and how can help each other in the game. Another example could be training tasks where player must communicate to solve the task. Also, cooperative tasks in a small and large group, competitive tasks where the function of each player are shown and how they can coordinate and help each other. And lastly, establish times in the task for them to talk and discuss how to solve it. Finally, and related to the teamwork variable, I recommend that you read these studies in depth to get more information and improve the teamwork in your team during a season. To continue with this prior result of the study of group dynamics and leadership development in athletes and coaches, I am going to talk in a more general way about another relevant variable such as team building. Firstly, there are several definitions of this concept. For example, team building can be defined as a method of helping the group to increase effectiveness, satisfy the need of its member, or improve work conditions. This is the conceptual model of team building with different variables, most of them explained in detail by my colleague Juan José Pulido and Fran Leo. In the first place are the inputs, where there are variables related to team environment or team structure. The second one, throughput, with a variable related to team processes like as interaction, communication, cooperation. And finally, we can see the output with relevant variables such as cohesion, team conflict, collective efficacy, or for example, performance. In this slide, you can see two methods to improve team building in sports. A direct method where the specialist in sports psychology works directly with the players. A second method, the indirect method, where the sports psychology specialist work exclusively with coach who then implement the intervention. Both methods have proven to be positive in improving team building in sport teams. In addition, here you can see the four-step approach to team building developed by Caron and Spink. Therefore, if you work with a team and you want to improve team building, you must follow this step for a more theoretical view and far from the sporting reality to the actual implementation of the intervention. These processes have been followed in a lot of subsequently intervention with a positive result. To know what is the team building in your teams, in this slide you can see an instrument called Team Environment Assessment. This extensive instrument includes different items related to the variables included in the previous conceptual model that I showed you before, such as role clarity, role assessment, leadership, group norms, and conformity to group norms. This instrument also includes items related to the togetherness, goals and objectives, cooperation, distinctiveness, sacrifices, interaction, and communication. To highlight some of the most relevant studies over the year where team building in sport teams has been analyzed, I would like to highlight this narrative review where author provide us a chronological narrative review on team building. The findings suggest that team building has a positive effect on group functioning, especially increasing group cohesion. It was also apparent that thus far the team building research in sport is mostly focused on cohesion. The aim of this study was to develop and apply the team environment assessment to better inform a team building intervention. Based on initial team scores, role assessment and leadership were identified and purposefully targeted in the team building intervention. Athlete perception of role assessment, leadership, and task cohesion were stronger after the team building intervention. Now, I would like to show you some of the intervention in the literature. For example, in this study, the author tried to analyze the effects of a pilot intervention program based on team building in diverse variables of group dynamics, such as group cohesion, team conflict, transactive memory system, and collective efficacy. The results showed significant difference in all these psychological variables evaluated between the control group and experimental group after the implementation of the intervention program. In this intervention, in which we also carry out in our research group, we analyzed the effects of an intervention program based on team building developed in technical tactical training tasks in football. It examined the benefits of the intervention in variables related to the conceptual model of team building, such as role clarity, team identification, intra-team communication, cohesion, intra-group conflict, commitment with the team, insight sacrifice, transactive memory system, collective efficacy, and also team performance, showing difference favoring the experimental group compared to the control group after the implementation of the intervention program. As I did with the teamwork variables, after analyzing the main studies and findings on team building, I show you different scenarios that we can find in a team during a season and that we have to know how to overcome. In this case, imagine that you are the mental coach of this team. First scenario could be you arrive new to a team and there is a lack of unity and team feeling. Second, the team has many individualities but there is a lack of connection between players. Third, many players end their contract this year and each one is looking for their individual statistic. And lastly, a scenario that you could found in a team, most of the players were not there last year and the background of them is very different. Again, to try to solve the different scenarios that I have shown you in the previous slide, some of these strategies that you can follow to improve the team building in your teams. These are strategies that can improve any of the input or throughput presented in the conceptual model of team building. Finally, and related to a team building variable, I recommend that you read this other reading to improve the knowledge of team building and to transferring this learning to real sport context. Before concluding, I would like to thank you for your attention. I'll tell you that if you have any doubt with any of the content that I show you, feel free to contact with us. I will be happy to help you. Thank you very much.